So whenever I debate these Christian apologists, which is what I'm usually doing with my life, as you know, they always argue that there are two facts that everybody agrees on about the resurrection of Jesus, that the tomb was empty and Jesus appeared to people. And they say you have to explain these two facts, and if you can't explain these two facts, then you have to agree that Jesus was raised from the dead. So this is, you've heard this a trillion times, so have I. So I actually do agree that some of the followers of Jesus believe that he appeared to them. I absolutely think that that's true. I think they had some kind of visions, but I don't think Jesus appeared to them. I don't think Jesus rose from the dead. I think people have visions of deceased loved ones. It happens sometimes, and some of them did. So I think that's true. When I was writing that book, I came to think something that before that I thought was crazy, which is I came to think there really was no empty tomb. I don't think the story about Joseph of Arimathea is a historical account. And the reason I came to that is this. I decided to look up every reference that I could find in every Greek and Latin author of antiquity who mentions crucifixion, and to see what they say about crucifixion. And one of the striking things is that we have no literary descriptions of crucifixion. In other words, we don't have any text that tells us this is how they did it. You know, they nailed them, or they tied them, or they did this. This is how they set the cross upright. There's no descriptions of this, apparently because everybody knew how it happened, I suppose, but they don't describe it. One thing that does get described a lot, though, is, or a relative amount, is that Romans left the bodies on the cross. They did not take them down when they died. Part of the punishment of crucifixion was that the body was left to decompose and to be subject to the scavenging animals. So you have references to this in our sources. And so I came to think, you know, if that was part of the punishment, that you'd be humiliated even after death and would not be allowed a decent burial, if that was part of the point of crucifixion in Roman circles, then would they have made an exception in the case of Jesus? And, you know, it's not like they would say, well, he's the Son of God, so let's give him a decent burial. You know, so I came to think that probably they did not give him a decent burial, and so that the story of Joseph of Arimathea was probably a later legend that was invented precisely so Christians could say there was an empty tomb. But I don't think there was an empty tomb. Yeah, because I don't think, so my guess is what they did is they crucified him. They probably left him on the cross and then probably disposed of the remains, probably just chucked him in a common grave like they do with most people, be my guess.
Given the fact that you have all of these clues within acknowledged Jewish documents, the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Apocrypha, the Wisdom of Solomon, Philo's writings, and Jewish angelology that was all going on at this time. You have the Jews telling the story that there was a Jesus, but he lived 150 years before the turn of the millennium. You have many stories. You have all of the references that, to Philo's Logos, to the Wisdom of Solomon that contain very similar concepts to the Son of Man, the Teacher of Light, all of these things. Why do you not consider that to be as plausible an explanation for the origin of Christianity?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I don't, because the earliest attestation of what Christianity was that it was the worship of a crucified Messiah. And you don't get that in Jewish circles. So it couldn't be just a kind of a natural evolution out of something that existed. The other thing is that a lot of those sources you're talking about Jesus living 150 years earlier or something, those are way after Paul. So you can't use sources from the 2nd, 3rd, 4th century to show what people were saying in the 20s, any more than you could use something that's being said today, say in political discourse today. You can't use what's going on in political discourse today to show what was happening in the 1750s.
Okay, I'm not going to comment.
Yeah.
Ask my question.
Next question, please.